IVM.
Hi, I'm Zarina Poonawalla, a life coach, a business mentor, and a motivational speaker. I tackle the challenges that come with varied work cultures, and I try to give out some cheat codes for loving your job in the second season of the Empowering series with me, Zarina. This show will feature live sessions with me and a participant, most likely to be an entrepreneur, a startup founder, an employee, a recruiter, or just about anyone who strives to love their job and looks forward to bringing in a positive shift at their workplace. On today's episode, I have a very defying duo, the duo of friends, the co-founders of Get Baked, Vaibhav Aggarwala and Sinhaar Rodrigues. Hello, both of you.
Hi, Zarina.
Hi, thank you for being on the show today. So, we have had your products. Get Baked is this amazing healthy snack option that I have come across in the past few years.
Thank you.
Considering that you don't have many, you had your granola bars in the past and there were specific ones. So this is some amazing variety we've tried. So Vaibhav and Sinhaar, why don't you tell us, how was Get Baked born?
So Get Baked was really born in a mother's kitchen. And a lot of the warmth and love and homeliness really comes from those surroundings and those settings.
How nice.
Born from a small mom's kitchen, moving to a small space in Colaba, and then after that expanding as we have recently.
Wow.
And that slowly evolved from being home to then wanting to expand in the retail market, which is why we partnered together as well at the outset.
That's right.
Given Vaibhav's distribution and his background really in FMCG, it felt like a great match, and from there it's been 3 years together ever since.
But Vaibhav and you go a way back, right? You're not just partners in the business. You have been friends for what? How long now?
So we've been friends for about 15 plus years, about 16, 17 years.
That's a long time.
We lived a few buildings apart, and we were gully cricket buddies, and then became close friends, part of a core group.
Right.
We travel for all the weddings together. He's also extremely close to my younger brother.
Okay, that's nice.
So in fact, I'm not invited for those plans.
Okay, so you're kind of the
I'm
third
not part
wheel in
of
that
those.
plan.
He's part of the marriage group right now. So
you're in the single group.
and the unattached. And
But
the
even
up and the
Pranay is
separate.
now, even my brother's married, but I'm still not part of that gang. So they just look for excuses.
Okay, so you guys had your friendship going, and then you started with this whole concept, right, Sinhaar? And then you thought of picking Vaibhav. I mean, we have friends around us, and we've heard of these different cliches going around about friends in business or relatives in business, But some of the best combinations in business and some successful ones have been friends, right, in business. So how did you actually think that this was a concept that would work? When you approached Vaibhav, did you think it was going to be a serious...
So there are two things over here. When I approached Vaibhav, I was thinking more along the lines of, on a business sense, how meaningful is it? And that was a direct match instantly. His background, what he could offer, and the leverage over there. So that was great. But there were other levels which were more important to me. For example, having someone who could accentuate and play to your strengths, and at the same time, understand what your weaknesses are as well, and be able to complement that with his own strengths.
Right. And
also the element of trust, and the fact that, which is also very important to me in any friendship and any relationship in general.
Absolutely.
And the last one, he has to challenge you and push you. And that for me was also very important, which he always did. So, yeah.
Vaibhav?
Of course, it's never an easy call. You said, there have been a lot of successful examples of friends doing well at business, but there have been, for every one successful one, there are probably 100 failures.
Absolutely, yes.
Not only at the business level, but then at a deeper friendship level, at a relationship level.
Right.
And the scarier part is because it's not just two of us are friends, we're part of a larger group also.
Yeah.
So there's a larger ecosystem around that. I met my wife through Sinhaar.
That's nice. So he's played Cupid for you.
Yes, at definitely a good level. He's definitely so there's a lot that also could get impacted potentially if things went wrong.
True.
And it's not only two people, then it's a larger ecosystem. So it's always, when we were in conversation, for both of us, this was like the ghost in the room that we had to address, figure out, analyze. And to be honest, you can never analyze it fully, right?
Yes, you can't.
You can't. You have to just eventually trust and
have to find a way through it.
Yeah.
Or you just get away from it.
So you know that yes, everyone's in it for the right reason.
Right.
Both of us for now are in it for the right reason, and we're going to make it work, and we're going to trust each other, and then you just take it from there.
Yeah, sure.
So it's we do have our fights.
I want to get to that. I want to know when you're working together. So before we actually went on record, Sinhaar, you were asking me if I have a biased opinion on this entire aspect, So we're kind of combining and understanding the blend of working together so that, as Vaibhav rightly mentioned right now, the dynamics aren't affected. So when you're working together as friends or relatives, or you have so many family businesses, you have friends who started businesses together. One thing that does go amiss is the fact that you may sometimes slip somewhere, and that might be irreversible.
Correct.
And it's affecting you professionally, personally, financially, and emotionally as well. So that is something. How do you guys manage? How have you managed so far?
So sorry, I'm just going to comment quickly once on that.
Yeah.
I genuinely believe that pretty much nothing is irreversible, So, or at least that's the belief I have largely.
That's good.
Because if you believe something is irreversible and that happens, then it's just too much weight.
That's right.
That's what I believe. So we do have our really bad fights.
You do.
Yeah, and you have to be okay.
I think that's healthy also.
It is.
Yeah.
I think more than fights, conflicting thoughts, There's this oil and vinegar theory.
Yeah.
Have you heard of it? So oil and vinegar never mix. Vinegar is generally heavier, so it settles down.
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
And if you mix it up, they'll mix for a little while, and that's about it. So oil and vinegar, in terms of friendships and relationships, is a very, very fascinating theory because they don't mix, but together they can still give you a fantastic effect.
Correct.
They are immiscible otherwise. So do you guys have opposite personalities, and that's why it's better to run the business together?
I don't know about opposite personality as much. There are some very core values that we share for sure.
So let's start with what's common first, and then let's move on to the differences.
So obviously there are a few core values that we share, like I said. Also, there's a great deal of transparency. It's never let me try and keep something secretive to protect myself or something along those lines. I think it's quite important that we have.
Right.
There are also very clear zones of when you say demarcating areas of responsibilities as well.
Right.
So each one has to own up.
So you have your roles and responsibilities very clearly identified, and nobody is kind of stepping into the other space.
While we have those identified on paper, and then being a young company, both of us are involved in a lot of things together. But yes, if it is his area of responsibility, he'll have the final word, and if it's mine, I'll have the final word, and that's how it goes.
Right.
To begin with, that's how you ensure that no one feels that they're being let down, because whoever is the area owner has the final say.
And that's pretty clear with the understanding that if you're leading it, it's up to you to take the final call. You listen to my opinion, which we always do, but then it's whoever call it is.
And with leading, you also get the responsibility. So it's not only authority, you also have to be responsible for it.
Absolutely.
So
that's
it's a mix of both, and that's how you own a particular area or a department or a function, whatever you want to call it.
So how do you... so you said initially that it's actually literally a mum's love product, right?
Yeah.
So can you tell us more about it? And I also want to know Vaibhav's thoughts on why he's friends with Sinhaar right after he tells me that.
So a lot of the warmth that I think comes from a mom's cooking of something which is homemade brings people together and creates a community around it. Right. And I think that's what we're trying to do with the same product over here as well. We know in terms of what we make, it's absolutely preservative free. It's natural as well. And it's great tasting. And I want to try and take that same message forward. So so that's part of really, in terms of the product and what we're trying to really speak about, and its roots of the product also being this. We might have other brands in the future which might not necessarily be homemade or whatever, but the Get Baked brand as such is a homegrown brand and literally born out of a kitchen. But
Vaibhav?
So I mean, we basically, Sinhaar's mum is a magician in the kitchen, and she makes fantastic food. Food, dessert, goodies, whatever. And most of us are friends with him only for that reason. While we love Sinhaar, but it's the love for food that's far greater.
And love for his mom's food,
Mom's
I'm
food
guessing.
that comes out of his mom's kitchen. So yes, and she's the creator of all our products, our recipes, of all our offerings on the market. She's the one who conceptualizes it at the kitchen level, creates it, and then we obviously add external help if needed to take those products to the market with the enhanced shelf life without using preservatives and keeping the natural and the healthy and the fresh element intact, which is important because today's consumer is very intelligent, very aware, very evolved. So you cannot say one thing and do another. It's not going to hold you in good stead ever.
Yes.
So to ensure that we keep the goodness of a mom's kitchen intact in our offerings, as well as at the same time take them out to market and give them the life that they require, is a challenge, and that's where we also use external help.
Right.
Associating with the right kind of people, having the required expertise to do all of this.
Sure.
Also, at some level, I felt that my mom, in being a talented person, you don't want to see that kind of talent just die so like natural death. You want to see it progress to something eventually. And while we might not, I'm sure in my household, my mom's very talented at cooking. My sister is a musician, so she's very talented as well. And so yeah, I'm definitely more like the business and that. But so I was really hoping that it could, the talent would not just go wasted. So as part of what we want to try and carry forward is that we hope that we can take that message to other people as well.
Yes, that's quite an inspiration actually. So being able to work from a mom's kitchen, I think in recent times I've seen that concept really grow.
Right.
Wherein a couple of good brands have been created just from the house, just from a simple small home.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. I think it just brings out the fact that as a family, you're willing to grow together, not just in your personal spaces, but in a professional space. You can see yourself putting, that kind of work and making sure that you're helping each other evolve.
Which comes back to a lot of what Vaibhav said earlier also, because as friends and as a close community, even our parents are friends as well. So there are any decision that we take, there are several stakeholders involved that overlap a lot.
That's right. That's exactly what I want to know about. How does that work?
So like he said, we use everyone's strong point or what each person is good at. So his mom's obviously contributing heavily because she's the creator of the product.
But for example, he has a family business as well, and I lean on to his mom sometimes for some financial advice. We have meetings every month with his father just to run him through a couple of, generally what's happening with cash flows and working capital and with the business as well.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
So it's a healthy mix in terms of, because we know that everyone is part of this at some way or the other. We want everyone to be part of the ride as well.
Sure.
And there's certain strengths that we can always draw on and certain inputs that people have been generous enough to always give. And at the outset, for example, my sister or his wife would come and just stand at the store and just sell with us. You don't have to do it.
Right.
We aren't already paying them for it because they're family. Why would you pay them, right?
So your support system is really
and you
strong,
need that. You need
that, right?
And what Sinhaar rightly, of course, pointed out about the family, but we've also had a lot of our friends who've helped us, who've helped us with contacts, who helped us with some serious advice. Okay,
Sure.
And honestly, I've realized to make something out of your life, you do need a support system, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean if you have a support system, you'll definitely make something. But if you don't, then it's that much tougher.
Yeah, you're right.
So
you're
right. If you've seen, if I can just use the example of a movie, which I really like, the movie on Dhoni. I don't know what it's called.
MS Dhoni.
The movie on MS Dhoni.
It's gonna call.
I don't know what it's.
What it's gonna be called.
So they've shown how his friends go out of their way to make him reach matches and get tickets, and so you require that, and you'll also see a lot of support in strangers.
Yes.
In fact, very often and more often than not.
More in strangers than people you expect it from.
Yeah. So of course your closest support system will be there and do everything, but then there will be a second layer which you would expect it from. It may not more often would not come.
Right.
But a lot of strangers will stand up and just support you in measurable terms. Yeah.
And you can't quantify it, you can't wrap your head around it at times.
That's true.
Why would this person want to help?
Exactly. But then, that's something that I've come across with many businesses when I'm coaching. And that's what I've realized. People who you expect certain things from, especially when you're running a business or when you're starting off, right? You don't expect much. You expect encouragement. What else do you really need?
Correct.
Or you might want constructive feedback. Somebody just telling you that, hey, this is good. Okay, it could be better. But you will find a certain set of people who just, I don't know, probably out of envy or comparison or whatever the reason may be just seem like they're going to show you a different side to them altogether.
Yeah.
And then you know that, hey, these guys, they were supposed to be somebody else. They were supposed to do something else.
Right.
And also with friends, when you're starting businesses, the best way friends can encourage each other is pay in full. This is what I believe.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
when you're doing business with friends,
Yeah.
I think an important aspect for people to understand is that you don't need to do freebies because they're your friends. You need to pay them because they're your friends. You need to encourage them to run the business.
And we have been quite firm with that.
Actually,
You are?
Sinhaar is
That's
more
good.
disciplined with that.
He looks like the disciplined
Yeah,
one.
he is the disciplined kind in that, and I'm not
Vaibhav, I'm pretty
particularly.
sure you
Yeah.
like that. But you know what I mean.
Yeah, no,
Sinhaar.
I tell anyone, it's full price. There's no, if you are buying, you'll get it at full price.
Now, what's the
and that's
concept
about
of taking these discounts from friends? I know you, so
I don't think the discount
What
matters.
is
It's just that,
That
know,
feeling.
it's a feeling.
I guess,
the
yeah.
feeling of being special.
yeah, because I personally feel that. So when I'm working with, let's say, a relative, a cousin, or somebody on a small project, or I'm telling them, okay, do this for me or do that for me. The first thing I tell them is, I don't want a discount. I will pay you in full.
Correct.
Because, that's how you encourage.
Right.
What are people working
Right.
for? You're working
But
for
then
passion.
someone will think if you're saying it,
Working
that
for-
means you really want a discount.
No. Nobody thinks like that. They are like, no, are you sure, Zarina?
Yeah.
That's what they'll say. I'm like, yeah, I'm very sure. You should get what you deserve. I
Right.
mean, you started something
Yeah,
new, right?
So the other day, actually, we had to go for a trek, and we were trying to be a bit disciplined in office with this also, because I had an outstanding on my own name
Okay.
with the company, right? I mean, obviously, you're taking stock at like a director rate.
Right.
And I had, maybe some 2,000 or 3,000 rupees outstanding on my bill.
Okay.
And I'm not paid in about 2 months. And I was going for a trek. I said, no, let me take some packets for these people. My admin guy is like, sir, aapka 3,000 ka bill pada hai. So I was like, हाँ, तो फिर I can't give you stock. I said, okay, fine. So I didn't end up taking stock that way. I said, okay,
Yeah,
you know what?
that's pretty-
I can't cut the bill, that's fine.
Yeah, but that's also, I mean, while what he's saying is funny, but it also brings out a more serious point of having systems in place at
yes,
work,
absolutely.
and systems and everyone should be equal in front of a system, which is of course much easier said than done.
But you must have built it to that level
we
that
want to
your
build it
admin
like
could tell you that.
want
today,
to aspire to
yeah,
that
today for
level
us to enter, we can't enter our own manufacturing area without an admin guy accompanying us. So neither of us can enter because we don't have admin access. So if I want to
Fantastic.
enter, if I want to invite someone, can only invite even my visitors in the visiting hours.
Right.
And there has to be an approval on email, which of course comes from either of us, but it has to be documented. So to have a system in place and for everyone to be treated equally. So for example, the other day I had a friend who was visiting and wanted to visit the space, and I was like, yeah, we're going, and my guy just very, very sort of diplomatically told me, just put the mail. I'll give you. Just put the mail, please. Put the mail. Just give me an approval. Even for me to visit with my friend, he wanted to document it before we entered.
Wow.
So that's very important. Having a system in place, and systems really hold a business, hold anything in a long-term sense.
Yeah, I mean, if
Right.
you want to... So the idea of you starting a business together as friends, as professionals... you want to run something, you want to sustain something.
Correct.
And sustainability comes with systems.
Absolutely.
Right? So
Sure.
when you
Also,
kind
with systems, it also comes with, I feel, like you said at the outset, was ensuring that there's an equal playing field.
Yeah.
Everyone, also feels responsible towards something as well.
there's a sense of ownership, I'm guessing.
Yes,
Everyone
that's-
needs a little bit of
Absolutely.
ownership,
That's true.
you know.
That's true.
So like he said, for purchase rate, it's not only a director's rate, it's an employee's rate.
Sure.
A director is also an employee. So if I buy it, or anyone else in the office in our company buys it, we all get it at the same rate.
Okay.
So we don't get a special preference over someone else. Because a system has to treat everyone equally at a greater level.
All right. On a lighter note, what do you think... actually, not you. What do you think? What do you dislike about each other?
No, we dislike.
Oh
about it
wow,
other.
that's a long list.
That's why
this show will go until tomorrow.
Yeah, no, that's why I didn't land up
See, I'm sure Sinhaar
giving you numbers. You don't give me one thing you dislike.
I'm sure
or two
Sinhaar has
things.
nothing to answer because I'm
You're a very lovable guy,
Yeah.
Vaibhav, that's why.
Yeah, and on Sinhaar we can hold a different show. We'll need a whole
contrary. Okay, so who wants to go first?
To think.
Your answer will be shorter, so
He's
why don't you go
thinking.
first?
Really thinking.
Maybe you should take the lead, Vaibhav. So
No,
you know,
to be honest,
dislike. That's it.
Oh yeah, one thing for sure I know I can dislike about is his like WhatsApp messagings. just in general, his desire to make the message really wordy and really, I would say convoluted. But it's just like a very,
But that I will second that.
Like he'll type out, he'll delete, he's still typing, he's going on.
No, I will second that, not because I dislike it, but I am agreeing with that.
With that
The
quality.
WhatsApp message quality, yes. That's true. That's true about him.
That just annoys me.
That annoys you. You just want to get to the point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm okay with that. It's a happy conversation.
Yes.
So, Vaibhav, what about you?
So it's one thing which I didn't agree with at all.
Okay.
He wanted to make our place pet friendly, our office pet friendly, while we both have pets and they're kids to us. But no, that's not a quality. I don't know actually. Honestly,
No. That could be. You
though
wanted.
even I somewhere wanted to, but obviously our food technologist said hands down that's not happening, and of course we understand that. But what do I dislike? To be honest, I can't think.
He's a really nice friend, I have to tell you.
No, so we both also very similar in a lot of ways, and whether it's
like what,
like really random stuff. I'm not even saying at work, and that was one of the reasons we
there are a lot of random connections also,
like very very random connections,
like really random movie or dialogues,
like specifics. I mean, I'll never forget this. Once in the 11th standard or something, we both found this girl really hot who was in his school and my college. And I was talking about her without knowing her name, and he also was talking about the same girl, and we just figured out the same girl, and it was the same girl.
Okay.
That is really random, right? Like
that is really random, and that's unfortunate. Any of you got that girl?
No chance.
Okay.
I mean,
so it's kind of telepathic, and
I got married to a girl way hotter than that, so that's fine.
Yeah,
but
that I know.
Yeah, but yeah, I know, and so that was one example, and random movie, absolute like die-hard fans of random movies. And
give me one odd love for film that you have.
Oh, Ab Tak Chappan.
Oh God,
yeah,
the Nana Patekar one. Like we can just rattle out dialogues in the middle of a work
start
day.
Playing the movie, we can start from the first line till the end.
With the punctuation in place.
Are you serious? Wow, I might want to do a demo of that.
Sometimes at work, when you're having a lot of stress, when there's a lot of stress, you just start rattling out dialogues to each other, and a third person would not understand what's going on.
Are you serious?
Yeah, because random conversations, suddenly you just start with something and just take it for 5 minutes, and then you have calmed down and moved on to the next phase.
Probably like a conflict has also been resolved, with that.
Okay,
I mean, it's quite cool.
It's just like an icebreaker as well. Yeah. How do you resolve conflict, if you have any? Since you mentioned earlier that sometimes you do have conflict, right?
So
of course you have to have conflict.
It's important.
So we do take everyone's opinion into consideration. Then we also weigh opinion, and
we're a little over democratic in our approach, and actually that's my problem. I think being over democratic, and that's what you're saying.
Over democratic,
take everyone's opinion.
Yeah, I mean, so we like to ensure that at least we have absorbed everyone's opinion, and or like everyone who we feel is a valid contribution to this particular topic.
Okay.
And on the basis of that, they were like, okay, this is what, and then we give that scores maybe at times.
Oh, wow. That's an interesting
and
approach.
we now have in fact started having
we do a weighted average
now
score.
We do a weighted average score on a decision if it needs to be made.
Okay.
So it's not only like points, it's like you give weighted scores and then you take but that's decision making. She's asking about conflict.
Yeah, I mean, so it's a combination.
Okay,
right?
okay.
Decision making comes from probably whatever conflict. It has to be resolved.
No, but when a decision is taken, we don't have conflict so much, to be honest, because we are fairly democratic, and to be honest, I see Sinhaar is very accepting in what you say. In fact, he's easier to convince than I would always expect.
Wow.
So that's he's very, I mean, he may have a completely opposite point of view, but if you show him something, then he'll say, yeah, okay, this is it. But so we've never had conflict while taking a decision, to be honest.
Okay.
Because we have demarcated areas, and even when I go onto his area, he comes onto mine.
Right.
He can see the other person's point of view very, very quickly.
Okay.
And even I try and do that. So I don't think we have conflict during decision making.
No, that's not during decision making.
Pretty much not.
That's good.
Not that, correct? Am I right?
Yeah. We'll have conflict over like what to order into office and food menus and that kind of
the
thing.
more important things, you see.
Yeah. I understand. Those kind of conflicts are so very important in your workspace.
Exactly.
Being confused what to order, right?
Yeah.
So both of you work out of, do you have an open door policy in office? Or
we don't have cabins in our new space. Yeah. It's open seating for everyone.
Fancy.
And everyone sits together. Except when you have a meeting, anyone can go and use the meeting rooms. We've got you can go and use meeting rooms. Anyone can.
Okay, that's
so
good.
Unless you're discussing something confidential, you go in. You go into one of the meeting rooms. Otherwise, everyone sits out of a common work area.
That's pretty
and
nice.
You can,
So basically, you don't need an open door policy.
You don't need an open door because everyone's together.
Yeah.
Everyone's together. That's how it is.
Okay. And do you have to play good cop, bad cop since it's a partnership? Does that happen with your employees?
With employees, sometimes even when we go into vendors and go into a couple of clients, you have to, appear to be having different strategies and handling people differently. Like, so when we go to meet a couple of vendors, even out of state, be it with screenplay side, that I'll speak this way and I'll temper you, and so that is definitely there. But it's all part of, I guess, business relationship and business building.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you have a specific role? Is Vaibhav always which cop?
No, there's nothing.
Is Vaibhav always? Sorry.
Which cop are you usually?
No, there's nothing really fixed that way. I think it's more depending on vendor, depending on
it depends on who's handling that vendor.
Okay.
So if he's handling a vendor we're going to meet, then I have to play bad cop.
Okay.
Correct? Because he's the interface for that vendor.
True.
But to be honest, you don't have so much of all that strategy in place. I'll be honest with you. See, eventually in any deal, you have to. If you're and I learned this in college, that if you're making a deal with someone for the first time and you go out and negotiate all out and you get your way, that person will never come back with you the second time.
Yes.
So every deal whatever you do has to be always beneficial to all the stakeholders. Then it'll go a longer way.
Right. It's got to be a win-win.
It has to be win-win for everyone.
It has to be win-win. Sure. And if you do only win-win for yourself in the beginning, you'll fool the person for the first time. Second time, he won't come back.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's a small world. And so if you do the right thing, good people will come with you. That's what I believe always.
It's the ripple effect.
Yeah. So it's fine. I mean, and being a young company, being just out of the startup mode, we still require a lot of support from vendors, and we have that.
Right.
At the same time, sometimes vendors also need support, which we give.
That's amazing. All right, just hold that thought, and we'll be back after our short break. So I'll catch you guys on the other side of this break.
Hey everybody, welcome to another awesome week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you're not following us on social media, please make sure you do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I have been asking you guys to do this. I think some of you are, but some of you aren't. Have you told your best friend about your favorite podcast? Please make sure you do that as well. You are our ambassadors. If you don't go out and evangelize on our behalf, who's going to do it? So please go out and tell somebody about the podcast you're listening to. If you think there's somebody who would enjoy it, refer them to IVM Podcast and tell them about all the stuff that they can find on our app or on our website or, Spotify, Savan, everywhere you're listening to podcasts, right? Just give it a shot. Also, guys, I'm going to be at Podcast Movement the coming week from the 13th to 16th of August. Podcast Movement is a conference in Orlando where we're going to be doing all kinds of podcasty stuff. So check it out. If you're in the area, please do come by and say hi. If you're not in the area, you can follow along with me by following, my social media in this case is Doshi Amit on most things. On the Scene and the Unseen, Amit Verma is joined by Pratik Sinha, co-founder of Alt News. They speak about living in the era of fake news, the far-reaching consequences of fake news, and the best way to debunk fake news. The English Premier League has begun and Football Twaddle is back with a new season. This season, they're introducing a Fantasy League episode which airs every Thursday along with regular episodes on Tuesday. Make sure you tune into both of them. On the last episode of this season of the Sponge Podcast, host Ambi Parmeshwaran talks about learning lessons from simple people and shares the story of Goosebuy. On Tech Careers in the New, presented by Accenture, Sheila Aditya is joined by Gopali Contractor, Managing Director, Artificial Intelligence at Accenture. They talk about AI, ways to demystify it, its practical applications, and the career opportunities in this field. Check it out. I think you'll like this show. On Pulyabazi, the Hindi policy podcast, host Saurabh and Pranay talk to Mihir Mahajan, a patent strategy expert about intellectual property rights. On The Origin of Things, Chuck narrates a brand origin story that involves priests, traders, and education. Will you be able to guess the brand before Chuck reveals it? Find out by tuning in. On The Habit Coach, Ashton is joined by nutrition and lifestyle coach Rashi Malhotra. They talk about food substitutes and recipes for a healthy life. And with that, let's get you on with your show.
Okay, welcome back, and I'm still in conversation with Vaibhav and Sinhaar. So, you just mentioned this, and I want to lead my next question on with that. You mentioned the startup board, and we have this, the country has been taken by a storm in the last few years with startups, right? And there has been a research in the US which tells us that only 4% startups actually sustain over a period of 5 years, and they continue to go on and become big giants, right? So, when you started off, you started with a friend and you guys have put it together and you've had each other's back, etc.
Yeah.
A lot of kids these days, the millennials, they are out to start up with their friends. Of course, we all have that one dream sometime during our school lives that you want to do a business with a friend,
Yeah.
I've had that as well.
Yeah.
It's not yet worked out. Right? So, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everybody has that. And people just think it is more doable now that, hey, let's get out of college and we have access to social media, we have the internet, we can put something together and we can work it out.
Right.
What is the kind of advice you would want to give to people who just want to get out there and start a business together as friends?
The only thing that I would say is that, honestly, everyone in this world is talented.
That's true.
That means nothing but. Because all that sets you apart is hard work. So you can be as talented as you want. The person to your left is as talented as you are, the person to your right as well. So, I mean, you can think you're all talented in the world, but in the end, that'll only take you so far.
But you think it's, in today's generation, I'm asking you, there's a lot of debate between hard work and smart work. In today's generation.
Yeah, so I'll give you, there's a very interesting saying I heard a year or two back, or saw it on Facebook. It said, and because today everyone has an idea, right? Everyone has an idea in the tech space, in the food space, in every space. In every space.
Literally.
So I read this very interesting line. It said, ideas are dime a dozen. The ones that you implement are worth millions. So I may not entirely agree with it, but the part that I like the most is ideas are dime a dozen. Execution is also very important.
So important.
But it still doesn't mean that you'll make it a $1 million or a $1 billion company. It definitely doesn't mean that. But these two are the basic prerequisites to get something started. Have an idea in place.
Right.
And execution is also very important.
Yeah.
So the only thing I've learned in the 3.5 years that we've been doing this is perseverance. Okay. That's the only thing I've learned till today, to be honest, doing this. Of course, we've learned a lot. You have to just, perseverance is the only thing that
also be mentally very strong.
Yeah. So there's a lot of romanticization about the word startup.
Oh yeah.
There's everyone wants to do their own thing, and that's great. But boss, like what Sinhaar just said, you have to be mentally very strong, perseverance, and you need a lot of support from friends and family. It's in just mentally, and and you need to know that when you're going wrong, you need to go back to the drawing board, change, move on.
Right.
Nothing is right in the beginning, and things take very, very long in a smaller and a younger company, like very long.
Yes, they
and
do.
You have to stay stuck with them. Discouragement will come. Discouragement will come 10 times a day, but if you're there fighting it every day, it will work one day.
Yeah, I think
that's the only thing I've learned.
Perseverance is important, very important. What about you, Sinhaar? Is there anything you've learned since?
I think coming back to his point again about just persevering to things, but also at the same time to be able to share the journey with someone.
That is
to
so
be
important.
able to share it, be it family or be it whoever that person is in your life, or be it those close stakeholders.
Right.
Because there's a lot that you'll go through at work, far more so than most other jobs I've been through, and because in many ways you become your work becomes you, right?
Yes.
When you're an entrepreneur. So it's hard sometimes to leave that at work, to take it home, to find that fine balance. And I think why we also work so well is because the people we surround ourselves with, at least our family, is a great sounding board and a great support system for us. So I think that's been quite useful for us. So anyone out there, I would say, always have a support system to share it with, because entrepreneurship can be a pretty dark place.
Yes, it can. I mean, the higher you go, you kind of start feeling lonely. I've seen people on top of the chart. They've got everything in control, and then, they just be like, Zarina, I just don't feel fulfilled. And you've got the numbers, you've got a good lifestyle, you've got a family, you've got everything, but you're not feeling fulfilled. So what do you need?
Yeah.
In that moment, like you said, entrepreneurship is such a dark space sometimes.
Yeah.
I think
whether you're in a younger and a smaller company, or probably even when you're extremely
multinational,
large.
yeah, it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
So what do you do then? I mean, I think from the beginning, you're not supposed to be going crazy in that chase and forgetting what is around you, who's around you, and just keep moving forward. Because when you do that, that's when you might find yourself in that lonely, dark space. Yeah. If you're taking the people along with you, or you're appreciating your support system, you're making sure that you're taking people and growing with them, I think it changes the entire ball game.
Correct. And see, and if you're really, really hung up on cracking something or being really successful, or you're basing everything on success and failure on a daily or a monthly or an annual basis, you may be let down because things take longer. So you have to just enjoy the work and the process and believe and know that eventually, if you're really good at what you do and you do it with all honesty, things will work out.
Right.
So if you just base it on, oh, this was my target and I achieved this, then you can go into trouble.
Right.
With yourself, mentally you can. So you can't work like that, and it has to be more that yes, I am doing this and I'm doing the right thing. I'm doing it with hard work, honesty, and things will eventually work out.
True.
Right.
My advice also would be to, startups. Just add on to what you guys are saying, is that we tend to have this know-it-all attitude these days because we do know it all.
Right.
We have Google, we have a lot of information out there.
Right.
But knowledge is taught, wisdom is not.
Correct.
The more experience you gain, the wiser you become. You have to fall, you have to fail, you have to learn, you have to get up, you have to push yourself, you have to persevere and all of that. And it's important that you leave your know-it-all attitude shut in a door and lock it up and throw the key off, because you will never know it all.
No, never. And
so that's one thing I think the newer generation also should understand.
Absolutely. And you have to be very humble. I
agree.
Because if you are arrogant or you're very egoistic, it's no matter what. You have examples of very, very big public figures who, because of their arrogance or ego or lack of humility, have just gone down despite being very, very talented. And the word that Sinhaar used in the beginning, talent, a lot of people have. But hard work, and I would just add humility to it, is very, very important.
Wow.
So, like you said, there's a lot of people who say that we know it all, and people give armchair advice, right?
God, we're tired of that advice.
Seriously, isn't
the whole
it?
world will give you gyan.
Everyone is there to
The whole world will give you gyan.
So sometimes I lose the value of my work because I feel like, hey, you know what? I'm giving you proper advice here, and I'm going to give you advice that might change your life. But for you, you've taken it from 10 more people. So you'll be like, hey, Zarina, I've heard that before. Give me something new. I don't know what to do then. So but, that armchair advice.
If you think that, just sitting in an office and punching in 1,000 stores in Excel, I'm going to be present at, and I can do these many sales. But no, have you visited every single market, every single store, every single beat on foot on a sunny afternoon and morning in the month of May, sweating with a backpack and selling stock? Unless you have done that, you won't know the ground reality of it.
Sure.
So a lot of people, we need to understand that you got to immerse yourself completely in it. And then you can, take stock but get a sense actually what's happening on ground, rather than just being in a cozy office
Right.
And also a lot of people will give you conflicting opinion. And let's say you've gone to people for opinion. So Sinhaar doesn't believe in it so much, but I like to go and ask certain people about a certain issue or some opinion, and two very, very well accomplished people will give you absolutely conflicting opinion, and we've been facing that, like completely the opposite view or opinion on the same issue.
Okay.
And both are well accomplished, or you would want to trust both individually. And so then how do you take the call? So that's when it's your baby, it's your business, it's your brand. That's when you come in, right? So, because that's when you come in and you take the call that this is what I feel is right for me. And a lot of people will also tell you that you need to do what you believe in.
Yes.
The same person may also tell you so you have to use a combination of experience, information and
your gut.
Your inner and your gut. Yes, absolutely.
Totally. I agree.
Yeah.
I think a lot of your business starts with gut.
Gut and an unwavering belief in yourself.
Totally. And then you stick to it. Like you said, you persevere over a period of time.
Yeah.
And in that perseverance, what you're doing is you're finding consistency, you're finding sustainability, you're able to live off it. Then you realize that, hey, I can do more than that. So every time you're taking one step more and one step further. There are a lot of people who just give up because, just like you mentioned, Vaibhav, you're taking opinions from probably two people and they're giving you a polar
opposite view
on that.
Right.
And let's say a person in your situation might be like, hey, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing forget it, I'm not doing this at all.
Yeah.
I should move on.
Which I think is
right? Yeah. You have people like that because if you're indecisive by nature and you're out to get opinions and they're polarized in their view, you are absolutely stuck. You don't know, and you will never trust your instinct then.
Right. And the worst thing, and that's what I believe in, the worst thing in life is to tell yourself, I wish I had tried. So my point is, boss, try whatever you want to try. fail and that's fine. The problem in an Indian society, of course, these things are also changing pretty dramatically now, is failure is very looked down upon.
Right.
In the US, where you said that, it's a 4% stat, but failure is not looked down upon. Like people are proud to fail and change and move up and evolve and try newer things. In India, it at least used to be. I think things are changing more and more as times are progressing. So I think it's important.
I think it's changing more because over a period of time in our country now, people are trying to pursue their dreams or their passion.
Yeah.
And not just because everybody in my house is a doctor, I have to be a doctor.
Correct.
And everybody in my home is an engineer, so I have to be an engineer.
Right.
People are moving out from that comfort zone or that pressure that kids used to have.
Correct.
We still have a long way to go, but I guess we have started taking a few steps in that direction.
Also, in general, I think it's important to experience the lows to really value the highs. I mean, you can't know what a high feeling is unless you actually been and had that, down the dumps type feeling. So you'll go through lows, there'll be crests and troughs, but just ride the wave and I'm sure you.
Yeah, you're right. Because I agree, Sinhaar. I completely agree with that. Because when I'm asked about success, firstly, my definition of success is whatever you want to define it as.
Yeah.
I don't have a definition of success. Success could be.
Success is happiness.
Success is happiness. Success can be your failure as well. It could have led you to something that you learned, and that would be success. Success is us having this conversation in this room and having a good time with it, and sharing some nice inspiration and experiences. Anything can be success.
And we're also introspecting while we are speaking.
Why?
So it's damn good.
It's like a mini coaching session. So success has its own definition, according to me. For everybody, and it should. It should. You have to be able to have your definition of success to achieve that goal in your life.
Right.
But one thing that people actually don't realize is, apart from that, it is important to be able to just go forward and dream, and just be able to think that, okay, like you mentioned, you want to try. You don't just give up. I mean, that regret. How do you live with regret? Why should you live with regret? What kind of regret does one have to live with in their lives? Why should they, So I like the fact that you guys are not leaving any opportunities for regret there in your spaces.
We hope not, but we hope not.
Being able to work something out together, that I think is fascinating enough, in itself.
I'm sorry, I'm going to tell you one more line. I like these lines. I think I read this at a bungee jumping place in South Africa or something. It said, fear is temporary, regret is permanent.
There you go,
Right? So, of course, that didn't get me to do the bungee jump. My brother did it, but...
Did you regret permanently?
No, I'm more than happy I didn't.
It's fine.
But that line makes a lot of sense, right? I mean, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does. Because what keeps us small is our fear. And we have nothing else. So what are the two things that people really use when they want you to do something? They will use fear, and a way to make you fearful is threat. I mean, parents did that to us, teachers did that to us, spouses do that to us sometimes. I'm guessing.
Your spouse couldn't be doing it to you. You're a lady.
No, he doesn't. Even I don't. But I'm giving an example. Like, it's always like a threat game. You won't do this, I won't do that. You give me that. And, okay, if this is not done, see what I do. So, we've had this fear factor in us. It's kind of embedded so deeply inside us that sometimes we fear getting out of our comfort zone.
Right.
We're comfortable being fearful. We're comfortable being disciplined. We're comfortable being under somebody's rule or monarchy, whatever kind of small or big reign it is. We are comfortable in that. We will crib about it, but we'd rather do that than liberate ourselves and go for it, because we don't want to take responsibility of being wrong and take the blame. It's better to blame somebody else, for the issues. So I'm guessing that kind of fear you have to overcome.
Yeah.
And when you start a business, that's the best way to overcome fear, I think, because you are just jumping into the ocean and going through everything altogether.
Yeah, it's a lot to process when you just get into it, head first, and you speak about fear and comfort level. Like I said, it's okay to be comfortable in your corporate setup as well. If that's what you like and that's what you aspire towards, it's great. Entrepreneurship may not be for everyone, and that's fine. It's open. You should obviously know that soon enough. But there is always an element of fear when you first start out. But the fear is more, for me, it was always of the unknown, not about the fear of failure.
Right.
That didn't really bother me at all. It was more about the unknown, and if ever I'm up all night, it's always about, I'm thinking about, okay, this has not worked out, or what can I do to sit and make it work better, or can I change course, can I pivot somewhere? It's not about, what happens if this fails. I've already planned for that and I know what might happen, and hence. So I don't think fear of the failure is there. It's just about unknown at times.
That's good.
Things you can't quantify. But yeah, I don't know.
But I think fear of failure comes to people who don't want to try because they've already decided they're going to fail. So fear of the unknown comes to people who might have the curiosity of trying and maybe not be concerned about the failure, like yourself, Sinhaar. So the fear of failure that I think Vaibhav was talking about was from the kind of people who don't want to try.
Correct.
And yours are the kind of people who will try and, you know, see where things go eventually. Where
Also, to be honest, a lot of people don't have the opportunity or are at a level of responsibility where failing can cost them very heavily. To be very honest, right? A lot of people who may not have that option, and so the fear of failure may be valid, may be real for them, and may be correct, because they may have that sort of, they may not have the required support in all senses, because if they fail, then it would cost them heavily. So that is also real. You have to gauge every situation and every individual independently. So yeah, in some cases, I mean, in a lot of cases, it is real and it is valid that if that person failed, then what?
Right.
So I mean, I don't think it's, like to put someone overboard, be like, hey, you should definitely get into entrepreneurship. Or, because it's a very different space to navigate. And what you plan and budget for, it's nothing like that ever. So it's, I think it's obviously good to have those failures along the way. Right. But it's about getting out of your comfort zone.
Just your comfort zone.
Yeah, getting out of your comfort zone. Maybe something small initially, maybe because you don't like Chinese food, you might try Chinese food.
Yeah.
Right? But I'm just saying is moving out of the comfort zone a bit and then making those steps towards it and realizing, is it for you or not? If it's not for you, fine. If it is for you, if it excites you, then, don't hold back.
Right. There's a story that comes to my mind because you mentioned this. There are these two little eagle babies, okay? In a forest, in a village forest, and the king of that forest is passing by, and he spots these two little baby eagles, and he says, I want these in my palace. So they take into the palace, and he has people to look after them, and he's got a trainer to help them learn how to soar high and fly and all that jazz. So time's passed, and slowly and steadily these guys are being trained. Both these eagles are being looked after really well and well fed, well bred, everything. So one fine day, it's a kind of D-Day. It's the day when everybody is going to watch the spectacle of both these eagles soaring really high when they grow up. This whole process goes on, and when the king comes for this entire spectacle, the trainer makes one eagle fly, and he's gone up, right up in the sky, soaring high, looking really handsome and beautiful. And then you've got the other eagle. That eagle just doesn't budge. He doesn't want to do anything. So he's a complete flop show. And the king, instead of focusing on the one who could do it, his entire focus went on the one who couldn't. Right? I think it's natural. We're always focusing on what's not happening over what's happening. And then he's looking at this guy. He's like, this is not possible. Not in my kingdom, because I have taken all the effort and put the right people to the job and all of that. I just need this guy to fly. Why is he not? Everybody tries. They're throwing pebbles at him. They're shaking up the tree, the branch, this, that. It's just not working. So he decides, the king, that I'm going to announce a reward. Okay. And he says, okay, whoever makes this guy fly, this eagle, I'm going to give you a reward. So a wise man from the village, he comes in and he says, I'll do this for you, and I will need 1 day. If I don't, you can just abandon me from the village. I will leave from your palace here. He says, okay. The next day, that eagle is flying. The very next day. Yeah.
Okay.
So when he comes to the king, and he's like, if you have a look, your eagle is flying. So he says, what did you do?
Yeah.
And he says, I just cut off the branch he was perching on. That's all I did.
Wow.
So the comfort zone of somebody is that little branch, whatever your branch is. Yeah. Sometimes you need one person to come and just chop it off so that you understand what you are capable of doing. And that eagle probably was so handsome and so high flying and all of that. Now what happens is, what's the moral of the story here? One is the comfort zone, understanding the fact that, you just have to do the simplest thing. Just take off somebody's comfort and see what they can do.
Right.
Now, eagles, they do have feet as well.
Yeah.
Okay. They can claw down. So they don't have to just keep flying. They're not all the time supposed to fly.
Yeah.
But the fact that the eagle can understand when I need to put myself down on the ground, use the floor, use my feet, and when I can actually use my wings is important. And I think whether you're running a business, whether you're a corporate, whether you're an organization, employee, entrepreneur, individual, you need to know that you have both. And that you should use both.
Yeah.
You can't just be perched on a branch and expect everything to happen around you and criticize and whine about the situation instead of actually trying to see what you can change. You know?
Yeah.
I think that is the story that came to my mind regarding your comfort zone bit.
No. They say like just get off your chair, get up and move around, and then you'll see how much you can accomplish.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we're all hooked onto our chairs and our laptops or computers.
So much.
And they say that just get up and move around, and then you'll be amazed at how much you can do.
Right. You've heard of Ben and Jerry's?
Yeah, the ice cream.
Yeah.
The ice cream.
Ben and Jerry's is two friends who started this company together.
Okay. I didn't know that,
Yeah, Ben Cohen and Jerry Greenfield, they started the company together. Both of them did college and all that, etc. But one of them dropped out, the other said, okay. So they did an ice cream course. They went, learned, they started their ice cream bit. Now the funniest part is, Ben Cohen had something called as asomnia, which means that he cannot smell anything. All right. The chunks in the Ben & Jerry's ice creams came from the fact that he had to taste everything and he relied on his taste. So the chunks were created. You know, like Ben & Jerry's is known. It's a USP. So it comes from the fact that he actually had there was a defect. There was a lack of something which actually gave them a USP here.
Yeah.
So it's pretty fascinating what people can do when they use their weaknesses or a lack of something.
And they're playing to their strengths, actually.
Yeah, that's playing to your strength, right?
Correct.
That's pretty cool. I just found it so fascinating. I thought we should share that on the show. Well, yeah, so that's about that. Now, you guys tell me, finally, as friends, if two friends are starting a business, what are your 3 suggestions or your kind of counsel that you would like to give them to be able to run a business as successful as
I would say weigh it out completely.
Okay.
Because one is obviously the business relationship and the working relationship. But when I say completely, I also mean your friendship, your relationship, the whole ecosystem, and who all does it involve, and what could there be potentially to lose there.
Right.
I'm not trying to scare you, but so when you think that deep, then you become more mature and you become more accommodating in your approach at work.
Understand that there's more value in that.
Sure.
There is, like you said, your ecosystem, your support system. These are things that will be there with you for life.
Okay.
And there's a lot more value that you should place on these things.
Right.
People tend to discount that a lot. Don't. So that's one thing I would definitely say. Understand how your partner, complements your strengths, or I think just ensure you're both hardworking enough and you have the same work ethic, at least, at least be comfortable with each other's work ethic.
Right.
At the core level, there have to be a lot of similarity. There will always be differences, and that's also important. But there have to be you have to think same at a very basic and a fundamental level. I mean, I can't even explain that, but it has to be like that, right?
Right, totally.
But you have to weigh the whole thing out, and it's a calculated risk. Eventually, it is a calculated risk. You have to take calculated risks. I mean, you cannot succeed without taking a risk, and you cannot bungee jump without having the proper gear in order, right? Then you're going to fall flat.
True.
So you have to take a calculated risk, and you have to weigh everything out. And I don't know what else.
I mean, just I guess, like I said earlier, also just self-belief. Yeah, I mean that's an unwavering belief in yourself, in your partner, in your business, in your product. All of that. For example, like I love trekking a lot, and whenever I go out, either it's pretty high, want to climb or something, and you might come to a cliff at times.
Right.
People are like, let's summit this down, and people ask them, but what if I fall from here and this thing, and what if I get hurt, and what if it's the crevice is too far down, and you generally will always ask the other question in business, like, fine, what if I fall? But there's the other thing to that is, what if you fly? And just there is another option always. There is just be mentally strong enough to persevere towards that and think about that as well. And
be willing to. This is not only for. This is, whether friends or you're going alone or Or you have to be willing to go back, to keep going back to the drawing board also.
Yes.
Because you will learn a lot once you go out to market, go out to field, whatever you're doing. There will be a lot, and you should be willing to change if required. You cannot be stuck to a certain thing. You should understand. You should be willing to go back and change to the requirement, change to the need. So you have to be humble enough to accept, and that's not defeat or that's not failure.
Right.
And even if it is, it's perfectly fine. But it's not that. It is being flexible to the need or to the demand of the need of the hour.
All right.
It may not necessarily mean your product offering. It could be yourself. It could be your team. It could be anything. You should be flexible and you should be accepting of change.
Wonderful.
That is very, very important, and it's much easier said than done. But yeah,
I think it is easy when you put your mind to it.
Yeah.
Anything can be easy or it can be difficult. It really depends on how you want to put your mind to it.
Yeah,
that's the difference between I am possible and impossible, or I can do it, or I will do it, I can't do it. That's the difference,
and
right?
What else?
Okay, one quality or one thing in your life that empowers you, each of you.
What empowers me is... So I got a pet recently after a while, and so she's about 7 months old. What really empowers me is to work those 10-11 hours in a day, sometimes 12 if more if needed, and get in early in the morning, make sure I'm home at 9 or 9:30 at night.
Okay.
So I get 1 hour every day with her. And that's a commitment I want to try and just, give to myself and give time to her. For me, that's empowering because that's probably, the happiest part of my day. And if I'm able to give my 1.5 hour, 2 hours on Sunday morning to play football, which he knows I love as well, and I really commit to that every week, then I'm happy. Right? Because I've done things in my life and found time for it, where I'm happy and then I'm empowered.
Excellent.
So,
excellent. Wonderful. What about you, Vaibhav?
So something that empowers me, I believe, if I was just to say one word, I'd like to believe, and I do think I am not entirely wrong, I think is honesty.
Beautiful.
So I just feel that, and what else do I say? So it's honesty and being honest about anything, to yourself, to people around you. Yes, it's as simple as that. Whether it's a mistake you made, whether you believe in something that may be against the popular belief or the common consensus. And people value that a lot because it's not very, very prevalent.
That's true.
So,
which should be actually.
Yeah, but it's not. It's the reality. So people value it a lot, and that holds you in good stead. And I don't do it for that reason, but that definitely is an outcome of this.
Okay, great. So
I'd like to believe that, and I believe that's what empowers me.
That's wonderful. I think it's beautiful actually. If honesty empowers you. I don't hear too many people saying that, and it's nice to hear it.
That's the only thing that came to my mind when you asked that question.
Yeah, but that's good because that's the first thing that has to come to your mind.
It's also very true to him.
It is to his nature.
It is very true to his nature.
It is,
He's definitely
stop being so good to me.
It's a fact, Vaibhav. We know you.
Ethically sound one amongst the two as well.
No, it's not. We both have our different qualities, and
no, but that's beautiful. Being empowered when you're happy and spending time with your pet, wanting to go back home to something, and you being empowered because of honesty, that's brilliant. And for me, I'm empowered having this conversation with both of you today. So thank you so much for being on the show, Vaibhav and Sinhaar.
It's been
Can we continue this? It's good, yeah.
I can have you for a to be continued.
Yeah.
But it's been such a pleasure to have both of you. Thank you so much, Vaibhav. Thank you so much, Sinhaar. Whenever you want.
The chai was pretty good also.
The chai was good.
I'm going to talk
Radhika.
to Radhika. You have to do something about an extended version of this particular episode, because I'm pretty sure our listeners will enjoy listening to two friends coming together, creating a wonderful brand, extremely delicious brand called Get Baked.
And not without the support of everyone
around you.
Which you have to be, and not everyone gets it.
True.
Like how he said, like family and friends, and people have to allow you to go and do it also.
Yes.
Of course, you have to be stuck up and say, I'm going to do it, but at the same time, you have to have that support. Right?
Yes.
So, and sometimes despite all that support, you may not be able to make much of it, but then that's another reality. So, but you have to work towards it all.
You just have to basically, something didn't work out, that's fine, you move on, find something else. But something in your life is going to work out.
Your spouses, your parents who say, go and try this, do it, it's okay.
Right.
So,
yeah.
And you have to have the guts, to do it, I think.
Yeah, you guys have shown some great mettle in your work here. And I want to tell all my listeners very clearly, Get Baked is a fantastic product, one of my favorites, so they should be able to get it where? Where can we get?
In a closest retail store right next
Excellent.
to them, or you can always order it online on Amazon.
Fantastic.
Godrej Nature's Basket, Big Basket,
Beautiful.
or any A category retail store near their house.
Any kirana store next to your house.
Any
category.
A category, which is typically a standalone supermarket.
Okay.
Or Amazon, Nature's Basket, Big Basket, Godrej Nature's Basket,
Yes.
Big Basket.
Every time I see get baked in any of the stores, I take a picture and I send it to you. I was like, hey, it's here, it's here. I'm picking
Next time you should probably also buy it.
I do. I always do. Yeah. They were my Diwali giveaways for 1 year.
Yeah, they were, I remember.
Yeah. See, Sinhaar doesn't know. He
doesn't know.
Partly a partner.
Yeah. And
Anyway.
visit our website, www.getbakedsnacks.com.
Excellent.
To see all the store listings that are near their house, or that would also lead them to the Amazon page to buy.
Wonderful.
So yeah, I mean, yes, and our focus has always been taste. So because we know, we believe that in the Indian consumer's mind, taste is extremely important, and crunch, as Sinhaar very rightly puts it, is supreme. So
Sure.
like I'll use this example, or you want to say it?
Yeah, so I think what works for us on a product level is three things.
Okay.
One is the quality of ingredients. One is the taste, because everything the Indian public generally believes if it's healthy, it can't be tasty.
Okay.
We've tried to find that balance. What we also learned as an audience, our palate for textures is a crunchy palate. So what he's referring to is that tomorrow if you have a snack, you have a khakra, it's crunchy. You have a chakli, it's crunchy. You have a sandwich, you want save on top of it as well.
Right.
So as a palate, we like crunch, and that's really resonated with our audience. People like our crunch. I think that really sets us apart as well.
Beautiful.
And hence crunch rocks.
And we do
Crunch
sweet and
rocks,
savory both, so that works because someone likes sweet, someone likes savory, sweet and savory both. So so try it, and we're certain you would have had something amazing to eat.
Wonderful. So thank you guys so much,
you, Zarina.
and thank you for also creating something like Get Baked. We've had a great conversation, very inspirational. Keep the friendship going, keep the company going, and keep making wonderful crunch rocks, right? Crunchy rocks.
Yes.
Okay,
Crunch
fine.
rocks, yeah.
Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you.
If you liked this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on our social media. We are at IVM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram.
Hi, I'm Satyajit.
Hi, I'm Racheta.
We are from the Open Library Project and we host a podcast called Paperback.
Paperback is a podcast where we engage with stalwarts and experts from various industries, suggesting non-fiction titles that contributed to their journey in a big way.
We've had guests like Anjali Raina, Dr. Marcus Rani, Dr. Swati Lodha, Ambi Parmeswaran, Apurva Damani, and many more on our show Paperback. Find new episodes every Wednesday on IVM Podcast app, website, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
How many times have you motivated yourself to improve your sleep, or lose weight, or be more productive? How many times have you failed? Hi, my name is Ashton Doctor. Tune into my show, The Habit Coach Podcast, where we focus on creating small, tiny habits to improve your life instead of those big, impossible tasks. So make listening to me a habit every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com or on your favorite podcasting app.